So we're going to look at tripod first. Why? I find tripod more accessible. It's not true for everyone. I find it more accessible because we have our arms down here. And when we have our arms down here, we're not contending with a big degree of shoulder flexibility. The other headstand, the one that you see most often in yoga classes, the basket headstand, do you see how my arms are up? This requires me to have a degree of shoulder opening. And if I don't, it makes it really hard to get into that headstand. So tripod takes away the need for flexibility. And that's why I like to introduce it first, because it's more accessible to people in more bodies. Okay. Rule of thumb with headstand, you're going to be sitting on your head. I have a cone head. Yeah. So my head gets a little bony. If you have a cone head like me, you might want to grab yourself a small hand towel and make a little thing like this. No thicker than this. Ideally, even like this. Do not pull out this shit. Okay. If you come with this, we're going to yell at you, take the pillow away. Why? Because putting your head on this is not stable. Okay. Your head is going to be moving and we don't want your neck moving. If your neck is moving while you're standing on it, that's when injuries can happen. So if you need padding for your head, it's thin padding. Okay. If we see your head sinking into a pillow, we will ask you to stop, get rid of it, and try again for your safety. Okay. So that's an option. Now, what part of our head do we put on the ground? I know a lot of us have, I did before I ever did my first headstand. I was like, that can't be safe. Like, what if you put your neck in this direction? Yeah. So understanding what part of your neck to put on the ground or your head to put on the ground is important. We want the pressure to be coming down the plumb line of your spine. And some of us have a tendency to put our forehead on the ground and then your head gets pushed back this way and you say, my neck hurts. Or you put this part of your head on the ground and then your head gets pushed this way and then you say, my neck hurts. So how do we find the plumb line? The plumb line means the middle of your spine, right? Take your fingers and make an L. L for la 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 lava, and then put your thumb in the middle of your eyebrows. Okay. And where your index finger lands, more or less, is the part of your head that goes on the floor. Do it again. Thumb, eyebrows, index finger, that's the part of your head that goes on the ground. Okay. And you might be like, oh, well, that's a lot further forward or a lot further backwards than I'm used to. Yeah, try it like that. Okay. And we will, when we look at you in the breakout rooms, we'll kind of help you figure out, because if you're on the wrong part of your head, it impacts the pose all the way up, right? We want our base to be stable. Now, we're going to talk about these poses at the wall first. And as soon as you have a couple of moments of balance at the wall, you can start to get away from the wall. If you have never done this before, use the wall. Yeah, many of us are like, I don't want to use the wall. Your mind will hold you back. It's okay to use the wall, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And we don't want to stay married to the wall forever, but give yourself a little bit of a little learning curve time. Okay. So optional little head towel. Okay. Now, where do we want our hands for this? Your setup for tripod headstand is going to be from all fours. So notice I'm in a tabletop position here. Okay. Now for tripod headstand, very important to understand, we want to create a triangle base. So we want our head up here and our hands down here so that I have a 3-pointed triangle. If I put my hands here and I put my head right in between my hands, that's what we call birds on a fence. Okay. Look at that setup. This is birds on a fence. Do you see how my elbow is not stacked on top of my wrist? The likelihood of me falling over from here is very high because I don't have a stable base. So what do we need to do? If my head is here, I still want to stack my shit, right? I want my elbow on top of my wrist. So I would need to move my hands back until my elbow stacks. Do you see how that is stacked? Now, so keep that in mind. No birds on a fence. Hands back until you can see your elbows. So from an all fours position, I like to think of it this way. Shift forward, shift forward, shift forward. Go look over the edge of the cliff. The same as you do when you shift forward in your crow pose. Then bend your elbows, tuck your chin, and place the crown of your head on your little towel. Then take a look. Are my elbows on top of my wrists? Notice for me, they ended up too far. So I had to slide my hands forward a little bit. You can totally always adjust. Okay. Now, the tendency is going to be for your elbows to fuck off to the sides. Your job is to squeeze your elbows in. They are going to want to open. That's the number one cue that the coach has given this pose. Hug your elbows in, hug your elbows in, hug your elbows in. When the elbows go out, you sort of lose your ability to push into the floor and your little wings start to flap like this. And we want to hug your little wings in. Okay. So elbows in, push into the floor with your hands and try to make space around your neck. So slide your shoulder blades away from your neck so your shoulders are not crowding around your ears. Okay. Stage one, this is a headstand. You have weight on your head. You are experimenting with what it feels like to have your head on the floor. Okay. If you're here and you're okay, you're going to tuck your toes and you're going to lift your legs. Now at this point, or lift your knees. This is when you're going to be like, oh my God, Nat, I feel a lot of weight on my head. And we'll be like, yep, true, true. Breathe, you're okay. All right. From here, I got to walk it in, right? Because remember, stack your shit, right? If I try to go into a headstand from here, do you see how my hips are nowhere near over my head? I got to get my hips in position first. So for that, I got to walk it in and walk it in some more. Walk it in, 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 walk it in. I cannot walk it in anymore. I'm at my max. But look at where my hips are. They're much closer to being stacked, okay? Now I have options from here. Never jump. Jump is not an option. We don't jump into headstand because you can't control your landing. So we're always going to go up with control. Option one, bring your knee to the back of your arm. Pause. Push into your hands and see on what planet could I bring the other knee to the back of my arm. This is basically crow pose with your head on the floor. Yeah, this is a headstand. This totally, absolutely counts. Okay. From here, you might take a deep breath in, push into your hands, and then that same core work that we did of pulling your knees towards your chest. You're going to do it, but in the reverse, and then see if you can slowly look for the wall with your feet. Yeah. We'll talk about what to do with the legs in a moment. So that's one way in. The other way in is don't put your knees on your arms. You're going to walk it in, walk it in, walk it in. Come high onto your tippy toes. Look at my hips. Look where they are here with my heels down. Now look at my hips when I come onto my tippy toes. My hips move back. My hips move back. My hips move back. And from here, I am in a good place to bring one knee to my chest and the other knee to my chest. Try not to freak out. Breathe. And then go, oh my God, where's the wall? Where's the wall? Find the wall. Find the wall and pause. Okay. Another option is splitting the legs. Remember, all the core work that we did was related to this. Okay. So splitting the legs, we're going to take one leg up. Uh-oh, keep getting, no, we're good. We're still here. We're going to take one leg up and we're not going to kick. Okay. One leg up. Now watch. The lifting is going to come from my bottom foot. Okay, I don't want to kick this leg. I'm going to reach this leg for the wall, and I'm going to rise to the tiptoes, tiptoes, tiptoes of the bottom foot. And I'm going to keep reaching the top leg for the wall. And I'm going to reach the top leg so much that it pulled my bottom leg off the wall. See, I didn't kick. We don't want to see any of this. We will tell you stop kicking if you do this, okay? One leg up, pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. Come to the tiptoes, and maybe rise. Now, if you're like, Nat, I get this in theory, but my body won't do it. My shit is too tight. I know. This is where blocks come in handy, okay? There is no shame in the prop game. Props are here to help us make things more accessible. Your body will open up over time. You will be able to do it without blocks. And for now, this is a great way to work around any tension in your legs or in your back, yeah? So with blocks, you'll come here. You'll have to measure the distance. You'll know if the blocks are too close or too far, yeah? And then you can say, okay, same thing. I'm going to put my feet on the blocks. Now I've just given myself more space. Take one leg up, still no jumping, right? This leg reaches to lift off of the blocks, right? So the blocks simply give me more lift from the floor. All right, the last entry I'll show you is called the pike. These entries, the little ball, the split legs, the pike, they're going to apply to all the headstands that we're going to show you today. So I'm taking a little bit longer in this first section to explain everything, and then we're going to move a little faster. Okay, so the pike, hear me clearly. This is the pike. It's bending forward to pick up something from the floor and then coming back upright. In order to get up into the headstand, I'm going to need to send my hips behind me. In order to get my headstand straight, I'm going to need to squeeze my butt to bring my hips forward the same way as I would standing up from this position. Okay, here's what it looks like in action. This blocks is good for this one too. Yeah, so you're going to come in here. If I try to pike from here, nah, I'm not strong enough. Well, yeah, no shit. Your hips are nowhere near your shoulders. Can't go from here, right? You do need tremendous strength. But what if I walk it in, walk it in, walk it in, walk it in? Look at my hips. My hips are moving back. Now I'm starting to go tiptoes, tiptoes, tiptoes. My hips are moving behind my shoulders. Oh my God, my legs just came up all by themselves. When I get halfway, I have to start squeezing my butt the same as I would standing up after picking up something from the floor. Yeah, and then to come back, start to send your hips backwards as you hinge at the hips. See, my hips are moving backwards to the wall, to the wall, to the wall. And as my hips move backwards, my legs can come down slowly. Okay, if I don't move my hips backwards and I lower my legs, I come down like a stack of potatoes. Sending the hips backwards is what controls the legs. That's not core strength. That's courage. Courage to send your hips backwards. Okay? If you're like, Nat, that sounds great. I want to do that, but my legs are too tight. I feel it. My hamstrings are stopping me. Blocks. Yeah? Same. You're going to come here. You're going to stand on those blocks. Tippy toes, tippy toes, tippy toes, and see if you can find a little bit of a lift. Okay? Now, what happens once we get to the wall? Okay? We talked about entries. Now, balancing your headstand is about the close the jaw action. Okay? So, once you get yourself to the wall, however you're going to do that, tendency is going to be for this to happen. Open jaw. You see my banana back? Yeah. So, your job is going to be, how do I close the jaw? Yeah. You can even bend your knees and go, how do I go from this to this? And then it's maybe one leg up. And you can keep your other toes on the floor, on the wall, and just tap. Maybe it's both legs up. But whenever you guys are going to experience this, whenever this happens and you feel like you're bouncing off the wall, it's because you've lost the close the jaw. So close the jaw and then take the legs off the wall. And then you won't bounce. If you bounce back, is if you've lost the core connection. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Once you're up there, squeeze your butt, squeeze your legs together. That's what helps straighten it out. People always ask, how do I get straight? Okay? In headstand, a lot of times, you're going to get about here. And you're going to be like, my headstand doesn't feel straight. To get straight, squeeze your butt and pull your feet back. Yeah, it's going to feel like you're going to fall over when you're straight. But from here to here is the squeezing of the butt. Okay?